Good morning, or good afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be. It's morning time here. And on the previous video, if you recall, we ended by showing you what we're going to do next with the cranial rhythm. If you recall, the previous video on the cranial system, we discussed the anatomy, how it's put together, the membrane system, and the bone structure. And now I'm going to continue that particular work by going with the rhythm, which, if you recall, the rhythm is created with these two bones that move back and forth with an expansion and contraction that you can feel throughout the whole body. So what we're going to do today is we're going to show you how to find the rhythm, talk a little bit about palpation, talk a little bit about the vault holes, and do a few other things like that so that you can begin to have a better understanding. And you may want to try the work yourself, or you may want to go into learning the work and be able to expand your own practice. So the cranial rhythm you can feel throughout the whole body because it's an expansion and a contraction. And it does work through the structures, the fascial structures of the body. There's a lot of different rhythms that do happen in the body. You'll begin to learn how to differentiate them if you want to. The cranial rhythm is a very, very light rhythm, and it does take time for you to find. So I don't want you to be frustrated with it because it is a very, very subtle rhythm. Where you start with it when you're starting the work is by checking the rhythm at the bottom of the feet. Oftentimes what I do before I even start that is I check the alignment of the body on the table. And what you're going to notice is a slight turnout of this leg, which will show that there's a little bit something going on in the hip. And then you can also see the head is just slightly tilted to the side. So there's a little bit of misalignment that's coming up through the dural tube and through the cranial system, which oftentimes these small little misalignments are corrected during the cranial sessions. So to start with finding the rhythm is you place your hands at the bottom of the feet, or you can place them on the top of the feet. Either one is fine, and you place with 5 grams of pressure, so it's very, very light. You let your hands come into a point to where they're melding with the bottom of the feet, and then you just wait until you feel this rhythm start. The rhythm is going to go in, it's going inward, and now it's moving outward, and move in and out. Now what you do with this rhythm is you check it. There's a few things that you want to check on the rhythm. One is the symmetry of the rhythm. In other words, is it fairly balanced the way that it's flexing and extending? Is the flexion and extension on each side of the body fairly symmetrical? The next one is you want to look at the quality of it. Is it a weak? Is it the quality strong? Does it feel vibrant? Does it feel deficient? And then the amplitude. How strong is it? How far out does it go? How far in does it go? So the strength of the rhythm is the other thing you just want to check for. And then the rate. In other words, how fast is it going, like beats per minute or rhythms per minute. And then you want to check the rate of the rhythm, which is usually right around 12 or so cycles per minute. And the rate would be the speed of it in that minute time. You want it to be about 12 cycles, that's about average. So you just take those little things that you're checking on, and it's like a little diagnostic. You check it before and you check it after, and you see the improvement that might be. So it just gives you an indication as to what changes have been made. And the thing about that is, oftentimes, for me anyway, if I feel changes in the cranial rhythm, and if I feel changes in the rate and all of that, then I know that there's already some work being done to heal the body. The people don't always recognize it because it's subtle, But if they come back to you and say nothing's happening, and you know that there's been a change in the rhythm, and you know that there's been a change in the quality of it and the whole bit, then you know that there's something else going on. It's not necessarily important to argue with them on that, but just know inside that there is changes, and hopefully they'll stay with it long enough to be able to recognize them as well, because it starts at a very subtle level. So there you move from the feet. So we've gotten the rhythm on the feet, and she has a pretty good rhythm in all categories. And then we're going to move up to the thigh. We just place our hands on the thigh, and we wait for the same thing. And here it goes. And I'm going to exaggerate my hands a little bit so you can see here it's coming inward, and it's turning. And it may seem that I'm doing it, but I'm following Xarissa's rhythm. Now, there's something else about the rhythm that's very interesting, is when the body is in a more advanced process, or even in a process that they're going into an emotional thing, but if you're doing dialoguing, and you hit on something that's very traumatic or something that wants to be avoided, the cranial rhythm will stop on its own. It just stops, and it'll start back up again. If that happens during the session, you have to go to the sub-rhythm. You have to find a sub-rhythm. So here we have that, and then you go and you check at the hips, and place your hands right on the hip bone. And again, you wait for that rhythm. Now the rhythm can tell you a lot if you just go to the symmetry of it. If the rhythm is out of symmetry, then you know that there's some restrictions on one side or the other. If you find restriction part way, like say there's a balance, maybe through the legs, and then all of a sudden there's a lack of symmetry in the hips, then you know that it's something that's involving from the hips upward. And the lower legs are doing okay. And then I like to go right to the rib cage and check that. And then up to the shoulders. And feel the rhythm. You may be able to see my hands moving a little bit with that rhythm. That's basically how we check the cranial rhythm. We assess the body this way. We're not diagnosing anything. We're just assessing the body at a subtle level to see the alignment of it and the function of the fascial systems, because we can feel what's going on if there's twists and turns in the fascial structures by how the rhythm is operating.